Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our morning edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars Live Feed Spoilers.
Good morning!
It is day 7. We have coffee, much needed nectar to try to get us actually awake here. This is the struggle of watching Big Brother 22 live feeds, especially when they have a party, but there are some party poopers on the live feeds at the moment. Not everyone is happy, and it's not just Memphis being annoyed that they kept the lights on too long. We've got drama, we've got strategy talk, we've got scenarios that probably won't actually apply to the upcoming week, but they're talking about them anyway.
Yep.
Before we dive in, if you guys like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And also, support us further. Check those links in the description to the store. And also our Patreon, where we do live chats over there at the end of every month.
So when I heard that Kaser was going to be having a birthday party, I immediately thought that some sort of drama was going to erupt, because that is what happens whenever there's somebody's party.
Yeah.
And that is what happened. So
Yeah.
Nicole F was talking to Janelle and Bailey and Nicole A just about, sort of life stuff. And then at one point, Janelle started to ask her about things that I guess she didn't want to talk about, but she did. So she asked about her influencer lifestyle, which is something I think a lot of us are kind of curious about, because it is a really small group of people. And that was like her job title when they were introducing her. So she's basically asking her about her job. The thing about influencer culture is a lot of people don't want to sort of talk about it, because you're picking products to sell that maybe you wouldn't use in life, but because you're being paid for it, then you're selling this product. A lot of influencers nowadays, though, really like to pick products that they would use, so that they're not in that position where they're like, buy this cheese that I would never eat, and then they don't want to do that anymore. They want it to be, buy this hair product that I use because I use it, and also I'm being paid to sell it, sort of thing. So she could have kind of, I guess, got around that without being quite that upset, but she was very upset about it. And the other question that Janelle asked, which also wasn't really that inflammatory, was just asking about Corey. Corey is inflammatory. I mean, for anyone that sort of followed us over at the site when that whole Corey thing was happening, we not fans of Corey and everything that happened with that whole goat story. We were actually so upset by that story that we ended up donating to a farm that helps abused animals, farm animals. That whole thing really sat poorly. So I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, that after Nicole F got out of the house and she saw that we were not the only people that were upset about that, and people were really mad about that, that maybe she was like, oh noes, I gotta sort of get through this mess that I've made, so she doesn't want to bring it up. So she ran into the backyard and started talking to Cody, and was her crying that she was, pushed into this and getting bullied into talking about this, and none of that actually happened.
This is the thing with it, is that there's a part of me, I will be sympathetic to Nicole F from the standpoint that, okay, yeah, it's difficult to talk about things related to your exes, especially when one of them is Corey. I would not want to talk necessarily about that either. I think she probably had a perception of Big Brother 18 that he was sort of like Captain America for a certain period of time with it. But at the same time, you had a public relationship with Corey, just like you had a public relationship with Hayden on Big Brother 16, and people are going to be curious about it. And I don't get the impression, I don't even know if we saw the entirety of the conversation, that Janelle was like grilling her and asking her like really, really terrible questions. I think if you're Nicole, you could sort of answer it, you can sort of say, and as little as humanly possible, to try to get the subject shifted over to something else if you're uncomfortable. But it's just, this is the sort of thing, and Nicole F has to be more aware of this, that really, this is why some of the fan community gets turned off by her, because she comes across as someone who just likes to complain about a lot of different things and then gets upset when things don't really go her way. And it's like, she is a good player. It's just, but this stuff just distracts so much from that because we get so transfixed on the things that bother us about her. And I wish she would find a way to cut this out.
I just think that Nicole F is strong enough. We've seen her play a few times now that if she really felt that this conversation was something she didn't want to talk about, that she just wouldn't talk about it. And she would have either, like you said, sort of directed it another way, explain briefly, how long were you with Corey afterwards? And then just answer it quickly and move on. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the other room.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. Or just straight up say, you know what? That whole thing makes me really uncomfortable. Do you mind if we talk about something else? Janelle, of course, is going to say, yeah, no problem. Next subject. What's up?
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal to say that you do not want to talk about something.
Yeah, and even if Janelle is a little annoyed by it, guess what? There's already a bit of a Cold War going on with Nicole F and Janelle anyway. It ain't gonna change anything. This is the part of this, though, that's so interesting to me, is that we've heard all about this Cold War between Nicole F and Janelle for a little while, and so you would probably just assume, okay, that means that if Nicole F ends up being HOH, Janelle's goose is cooked. Guess what? Not so much. The goose has not been cooked yet. Instead, Nicole F seems as though she doesn't want to nominate Janelle if she is the next HOH because she's worried that it might be a little bit early. And she's also worried that America would just vote Janelle back in.
And she's right. She's absolutely right. She's played this game enough. She knows how America works. We always want to root for that underdog, or at least the majority of us want to root for the underdog, and that happens all the time, and we've seen it in that vote over and over again. And there probably is some kind of twist where they are, keeping people who are evicted for a little while. There might be some kind of, buy back in, play back in, battle back in.
Whatever
it is,
yeah.
Right? Like, she's not wrong to feel that way. We said a little bit earlier, like a few videos ago, that sort of the idea of whoever you think is America's sort of favorite player, who does America like, is a good person to hitch your wagon to, which is why I think Davon is a really important person to hitch your wagon to. Because if America likes her, which they do, and a secret power comes up, they're going to give it to somebody like Davon, and then you're in that secret power.
If only Nicole F thought this way about every other potential twist in the game as opposed to just a battle back, people vote someone back into the house sort of situation, because to me, it's much more likely you're going to have insert weird, silly named power here, and that is going to go to Janelle than it is that Janelle's going to be voted back in. I think just having Janelle in the game and having potentially animosity there, that's going to hurt Nicole F more in the long run, but that's just my own opinion.
Yeah. So also Nicole F was talking to Cody, and Cody suggested that for nominees next time around, that Nicole A and David would be more likely people that he'd be circling around. And Nicole A, I understand. He doesn't really have a relationship with her. So, I mean, that's something Nicole A needs to work on and get something. Just friendliness. It doesn't necessarily even have to be major gameplay or anything like that. Some of that would be fine, but she needs to take the baby steps and just kind of have those conversations. How you doing? You want some eggs? Whatever it is, right? Just to kind of get things rolling where he feels get the ball rolling here. But David is such a strange one to talk about, because I feel like David would be working with them, and David would be okay to work with them and go with the flow with Cody. So I'm not really sure why he wants to go that way, except that David's just not really doing anything right now. And that idea of getting rid of somebody who's just kind of not doing much of anything, then it's okay, because then people aren't going to be mad, and they're not going to be like, oh, you got rid of my alliance member. You got rid of someone that I'm working with.
Hold on. I got to grab the tinfoil hat here.
All right.
Okay. Here we go. I believe that Cody because Cody's talking about a hypothetical next HOH here, right? So Cody knows that he can't actually be the next HOH. So I'm kind of wondering, what if Cody's just throwing David's name out there because he knows he's not going to have to put him up? And I think Cody probably wants to kind of hide that he might have something with David. So this is something he could sell to other people, because the argument then is like, oh, okay, Nicole A and David, they played on the same season. It could be easy justification. He would be taking a risk.
That is a huge risk.
I think maybe he just thinks, okay, you know what? I've got a lot of other allies elsewhere. If David goes, he goes, but he would have to be really confident Nicole A would actually go with this scenario.
I would never put up my own alliance member or someone that I'm working with. It's crazy.
Cody's got like
crazy town.
50 alliances at the moment.
And I totally get that, but we've seen people put up their own alliance member and watch them walk out the door for no reason. Like, it is way too risky.
Well, Cody's just Mr. I don't care, because Cody doesn't seem to care about who goes really either. Like, he made that sort of clear last night. That doesn't surprise me, really. I think the vote is still leaning towards Keisha being evicted on Thursday, mostly because Keisha still is not doing enough, but Cody...
Disappointing.
Yeah, Cody's just going with the flow.
Yeah, so Cody's also warning Nicole F that she's getting too close to Ian. She's spending too much time with Ian. The perception is that she is with Ian or around Ian too much, which we all know that there is a winner's alliance between the two of them. But Enzo saw them kind of talking together, and no one really trusts Ian because Ian won't say where he's landing on anything. He's being really secretive, and he's being, he just won't talk to anybody about really where he's landing on stuff.
This is the funny thing that I literally just thought about at this very second, in that, isn't this starting to feel a little bit like Ian in his first season? Because Ian in this first season, he was a target early on. People didn't really trust him. He was an outcast, but they didn't target him. And it still doesn't seem like people are directly wanting to target him now, or maybe even next week either. The longer they keep Ian in the game, he's just going to crawl into people's heads. They're going to forget that he's a winner, or he's just going to start winning a bunch of stuff and you can't get rid of him.
Well, I also think that Nicole F is going to end up burning her own alliance a little bit with this if she doesn't pull back from at least showing that she's hanging out with Ian a lot or getting really close to Ian, because Nicole F is close to Cody. And if Cody is bringing this information to her to say, listen, people are starting to notice, that also means I am starting to notice. So she really needs to find a way to pull back on that a little bit.
I just don't see this season working for Nicole F. I don't get too off topic here. I don't. I saw in 18, I felt like she had a good chance of winning that whole season. It's just, I think people are just not going to have it this time around. But anyway, well, let's get over to the state of the vote, which is really just the state of people telling other people that they're okay with them and they'll want to fight for them. Like, this is the new, I support you, Tyler telling Kevin overnight he's going to fight for him. It's like, great, Tyler, you're going to fight for Kevin. You're not actually telling Kevin he's safe. You're not even really telling him anything. You're just like, oh, I'll fight for you. That's like sort of saying, yeah, I'll fight for somebody who I see on the street, and then I'll just go up to somebody else and be like, hey, there's somebody else down the street. It's like that is the bare minimum.
It is the bare minimum. But I mean, Tyler's probably just giving him a little bit of lip service right now, because while it's likely that Kevin is going to stay, I mean, anything can happen. I think Tyler doesn't, he said he doesn't want to play the same game. He is playing the same game. But in this case, by not really promising that Kevin's going to be okay, he's shifting it a little bit, because the last season he played, he would have been like, oh, you're good, man. I got you. It's you and me till the end. Right?
This is true.
Okay, so Janelle is also telling Ian that she's got his back, but she doesn't want people thinking that they're working together because they were together in season 14, which makes sense, but it's the same thing that happened with Janelle and Kaiser at the beginning of this. Like, stop trying to pretend that your seasons together didn't happen, because they did. Just roll with it the way it's gonna be. Sort of, acknowledge that there is a connection. You guys played together. Okay, yes, you're going to have a relationship. But you can still make it clear that either there is an alliance, there's not an alliance. You can find a way to be friendly, talk, and not look like you're working together. It's hard, but you can do it.
Yeah, and this one feels like it's a reach because, Janelle and Ian, it wasn't like they were BFFs in season 14 or anything, and Janelle didn't last that long in season 14. So I don't think, and I could be wrong, people get crazy in this house, they get paranoid, they get bored. That's probably why Janelle was asking Nicole F about Corey and other stuff in the first place.
Of course.
I don't think paranoia would be that rampant with the two of them, but Janelle, to be fair, she has other problems she needs to also worry about. She should be worried about Nicole F, who, by the way, was also just complaining that she wasn't wearing her costume enough, and that on her season, remember when she had the dress as like the sausage person to carry the sausage? She's like, I had to carry that sausage around all the time. It's like,
listen,
congrats.
You're not wrong, Nicole F.
She doesn't wear this costume a lot, it's fair.
Yeah, Janelle's not wearing the costume a lot, and I understand Janelle is a legend, but production shouldn't be just letting her do whatever she wants. Everyone is on this all-star season together. There should be more of production stepping in. And because they're not, she's just not wearing it, right? And I'm not the biggest Nicole F fan, but she is not wrong here.
No, she's not wrong there. And I think sometimes even when Nicole F isn't wrong about other things, I think it's her delivery that makes kind of a little bit of it frustrating. But
yes,
let us jump from one Nicole to another with, we could probably make the Nicole Anthony talk show almost a daily theme, because this is very much indicative of last season where Nicole she would be up at some ghastly hour of the night talking to everyone, which is great, but still, you got to talk to other people too, Nicole. And she talked in here about how she's scared of a Nicole F HOA. She feels okay in other scenarios. I don't really think she should feel okay in almost any scenario right now, but she's especially worried about her fellow Nicole, which, understandably, given everything that we have talked about so far this season.
She should absolutely be worried about this. Yes, I think that Nicole F will put up Nicole A or backdoor her. I think she will absolutely 100% be a target.
Yeah, probably.
So Nicole A also thinks that Cody and Memphis are close, which they are, but she's really getting in her head that she does not understand or can't fathom the idea that Keisha and Memphis are not close and not working together. And that is the most interesting part of this season, is these people that are coming back, like Janelle and Ian that had been on a season together, or Janelle and Kaser had been on a season together. And these types of things are like coming into play when they're not always in play. Yeah.
It's sort of like this. Like I was on Beauty and the Geek more than a decade ago at this point, and of the people who are on that season, like, there's only one of them that I actually talk to on like a weekly basis. I haven't talked to a lot of other people since pretty much like weeks after the show airing, and there's not really a bond that's there. But I think that Nicole Anthony's biggest, like, the reason I think she's really paranoid and thinks that the entire house has a big alliance against her is because she thinks in her head that Keisha must just be some sort of pawn, and that they wouldn't really want to get rid of her because of Memphis and Cody's relationship. She's reading way too much into this, and I think she's smart. And I think when you're smart, sometimes you think and think and think, and you think yourself into a circle, and then you just fall over.
Yeah, that definitely happens, where you sort of spiral in your head about stuff.
Yeah, so that is going on with her. We will see what else happens today. This should be the day that campaigning starts happening. Like, I don't think you should campaign too fast, but I don't think you should wait until the night before eviction either.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of campaigning going on yesterday, but yeah, today should be a little more full force.
We will have some updates for you later, but for now, what do you think is going to happen today? What do you think about the latest Nicole F situation? Share in the comments, and if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and support us further. Check those links in the description to the store, to our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.